Kindle Kid presents Elmer and the Stranger. A beautiful story written by David McKee. Elmer, the patchwork elephant, had just started his morning walk when Tiger arrived. "Elmer," he said, "there's a stranger around and he's acting very strangely. He jumps and falls over. Strangers often act strangely, that's why." "They're strangers," said Elmer. "Well, I don't think he's happy," said Tiger. Just then Lion appeared. "Hello, Elmer." "Hello, Tiger," he said. "Elmer, there's a strange chap around. He sort of jumps," said Tiger. "Elmer knows. And then he he falls over," finished Tiger. "Elmer knows. Yes, well also he seems unhappy," said Tiger. "Elmer knows. Let's just go and see," said Elmer kindly. Soon they came to a clearing. "This is where he usually jumps," said Tiger. "And falls over," added Lion. "And here he comes." With huge bounces, into the clearing came a kangaroo. Then he stopped, hesitated, and fell over. He picked himself up and sobbed, "I'm a failure." "Not a happy chappy," said Lion. "Let's talk to him," said Elmer. "Hello," said Elmer. "What's the matter?" "Hello," Kangaroo sniffed. "I can't jump. When I try to, I fall over. We're going to have a jumping competition and I came here to practice, secretly. But it's no use. I can't jump. I'll be laughed at." "I'm a good bouncer," said Kangaroo and, to prove it, bounced higher than Giraffe who happened to be passing. "Very impressive," said Tiger. "But when I think about the jump I fall over," sighed Kangaroo. "This needs some thought," said Elmer. "We'll be back tomorrow." "But you were jumping beautifully," said Tiger. "Oh no, I was just bouncing along getting ready to jump." On the way home, Lion said, "Elmer, I know I'm a bit slow, but isn't a bounce a kind of jump?" "Yes, Lion," said Elmer. "But Kangaroo thinks that a jump is something more difficult, more important. Like sometimes if you think about going to sleep, you can't. When you don't think about it, you soon drop off." "Lion doesn't have that problem," said Tiger. Elmer laughed and left them. The next morning, after talking to Lion and Tiger, Elmer went to meet Kangaroo. "Come on, Kangaroo," he said. "Lion and Tiger will be by the river." Elmer set off at a steady pace, while Kangaroo bounced behind him, in front of him, around him and even over him. At the river, they saw Lion and Tiger on the other side, where Elmer had told them to wait. "Drat," said Elmer. "We'll get our feet wet." Kangaroo laughed, and with an enormous bounce landed beside Lion and Tiger. "Fantastic jump," said Tiger. "You mean or bounce," said Kangaroo. I can't jump. Lion chuckled. A bounce is a jump. Lion's right, said Elmer. Forget jumping, just bounce. Now, let's go to that competition. Kangaroo led the way, delighted that his new friends were going with him. They arrived just as the competition began. After a while, Elmer said, "Come on, Kangaroo, it's time you had a go." There was a roar of applause as a white kangaroo made an enormous jump. "That will be hard to beat," said Kangaroo. Elmer whispered to Lion and Tiger. They grinned and went to stand just past the spot where the white kangaroo had landed. As Kangaroo was getting ready, Elmer said, "Drat! We'll get our feet wet." Kangaroo gave a laugh, and with an enormous bounce once again landed beside Lion and Tiger. That jump won the competition. Later, Kangaroo thanked Elmer, Lion, and Tiger for their help. "You made me remember the river," he said. "I didn't think about jumping." When they were back home, Lion said, "Strange thing, I felt that we were the strangers," finished Tiger. "Yes," laughed Elmer. "And now we're all friends," they laughed together.
Kindle Kid presents A Tale of Two Feathers.
One starry night, Otis Owl was sitting high in the trees, hunting for a tasty mouse. Suddenly, he spotted a shiny blue feather. "I've never seen this sort of feather before," he thought. "I wonder who it belongs to." He asked his friend, Navila Nightjar, "Have you seen any birds with feathers like this?" "I've never seen this sort of feather before," said Navila. "Why don't you ask Nigel Nightingale?" Otis took the feather to his friend, Nigel Nightingale. "Have you seen any birds with feathers like this?" he asked. "I've never seen this sort of feather before," said Nigel. "Why don't you ask Candace Corncrake?" Otis flew to see his friend, Candace Corncrake. "Have you seen any birds with feathers like this?" he asked. "I've never seen this sort of feather before," said Candace. "Why don't you get some rest and search some more tomorrow night?" The sun was starting to rise and the night was nearly over. Otis returned to his tree and settled down to sleep. That morning, Kia Kingfisher was sitting by the river, searching for a delicious minnow. Suddenly, she spotted a stripy white feather. "I don't know any birds with feathers like this," she thought. "I wonder where it came from." She asked her friend, Wilma Woodpecker, "Do you know who might have dropped this feather?" "I don't know any birds with feathers like this," said Wilma. "Why don't you ask Billy Bluetit?" Kia took the white feather to her friend, Billy Bluetit. "Do you know who might have dropped this feather?" she asked. "I don't know any birds with feathers like this," said Billy. "Why don't you ask Bertie Bullfinch?" Kia flew to see her friend, Bertie Bullfinch. "Do you know who might have dropped this feather?" she asked. "I don't know any birds with feathers like this," said Bertie. Why don't you get some rest and search some more? In the morning, the sun had begun to set and the day was nearly over. Exhausted, Kia settled down on a branch to rest. The sun disappeared and the forest became dark. Otis woke up, ready for another night of searching for the mysterious bird. He stepped out of his nest and was met by the most unusual sight. Right in front of his beak, sitting on his very own branch, was a bird with shiny blue feathers. "It's you," Otis hooted. "What? Who?" shrieked Kia. She stared at the bird that had interrupted her sleep. It was a bird with stripy white feathers. "Oh, it's you. I've been looking everywhere for you," the two birds said at the same time. "What are you doing out at night?" asked Kia. "Well, this is when I am awake," said Otis, confused. "Awake at night," said Kia. "But then what do you do during the day?" "Well, I sleep, of course," said Otis. Suddenly, the mystery was solved. This was why they had never met before. Otis had always thought that everyone slept during the day, while Kia had not realized that some animals only come out at night. "Come on," said Otis. "Let me show you my world." The two new friends flew through the forest, feeling very glad to have finally found each other. "Wow," gasped Kia. "Everything looks so different at night time." "I can't wait to see what it looks like in the daylight," said Otis. "Let's meet again tomorrow," suggested Kia, "and I can show you my world." Kindle Kid presents Little Red Riding Hood. Once upon a time there was a girl called Little Red Riding Hood. She lived with her mother in a village near a forest. One day, Little Red Riding Hood went to visit her grandmother. She took a basket of food with her. On her way, Little Red Riding Hood met a wolf.
"Hello. Where are you going?"
"I'm going to visit my grandmother who lives in the forest." The wolf ran to her grandmother's house. He went inside and locked her in the wardrobe. He put on her nightgown and got into her bed. A little later, Little Red Riding Hood came to the house. She knocked on the door, then went inside. Little Red Riding Hood went over to grandmother's bed. "Oh, Granny, what big ears you have."
"All the better to hear you with."
"Oh, Granny, what big eyes you have."
"All the better to see you with."
"Oh, Granny, what big teeth you have."
"All the better to eat you with."
"Help!" shouted Little Red Riding Hood as she realized that there was a wolf in her grandmother's bed. She ran out of the house.
A woodcutter was nearby. He heard Little Red Riding Hood scream and ran to the house. The woodcutter hit the wolf over the head. The wolf ran away, and Little Red Riding Hood never saw him again. Later, the girl and her grandmother thanked the woodcutter, and the wolf never returned. Thank you for watching the video. See you next time.
Kindle Kid presents The Boy Who Cried Wolf. There was once a boy who looked after sheep. The boy was bored. One day, he played a trick on the villagers. The boy cried out that there was a wolf attacking his sheep, even though there wasn't. The villagers came up the hill to save the sheep. When they got there was no wolf. The boy laughed at them. "You must not tell lies," said the villagers. They went back to the village. Soon the boy was bored again. He shouted, "Wolf! Wolf!" The villagers rushed up the hill to save the sheep. When they got there was no wolf again. The boy laughed at them again. "You must not tell lies," shouted the villagers. They went back down to the village. Later that day, a wolf did come into the field. The boy shouted and shouted, "Wolf! Wolf!" This time no one came to help, and the wolf ate all of the sheep. The moral of the story is, if you tell lies, people won't believe you when you do tell the truth. Thank you for watching the video. This is end of the story. See you next time.
Kindle Kid presents Alice in Wonderland. It was a warm day in summer. Alice was sitting in the sunshine, and she was reading a book with her sister. The book was terribly boring, and Alice began to feel sleepy. Suddenly, a small, white rabbit raced past. The rabbit was wearing clothes. He pulled a watch from his pocket to check the time. He cried, "Oh dear! Oh no! I'm late! I'm late!" The rabbit shook his head and then disappeared down a rabbit hole. Alice followed the rabbit to the hole. She peered through the entrance, but she could no longer see the rabbit. She squeezed her head and shoulders into the hole. Then, she wriggled her body a little further. Suddenly, Alice felt herself falling. For a long time, she tumbled down the rabbit hole. Finally, she landed with a bump in a long hallway which had a tiny door at the end of it. "I'm far too big to fit through such a little door," Alice said to herself. Nearby, on a three-legged table, she found a small bottle. The bottle had a label on it which read, "Drink me." Alice quickly drank from the bottle. Alice shrank until she was as small as a doll. She opened the door and quickly ran through it. "Oh, I'll never get back to the right size," Alice cried. She began to look for help. Soon, Alice met a green caterpillar who was sitting on top of a large mushroom. The caterpillar explained, "Well, I may be able to help if size is your only problem. One side of this mushroom will make you bigger, but the other side will make you smaller." Alice cut a piece from the left side of the mushroom, and she took a small bite. "Thank goodness. I'm growing," she cried. "Which way should I go now?" puzzled Alice. "That path will lead you to the Mad Hatter's tea party," said a cat who was sitting in a tree. Alice walked down the path. She came across a long table which had been set ready for a tea party. "How lovely! A tea party," she cried. "There's no room for you," shouted the Mad Hatter as Alice arrived. Alice ignored him and sat down anyway. She wanted to have a cup of tea with the March Hare and a sleepy little mouse. After the tea party, Alice continued walking. She found herself in the middle of a field where the Queen of Hearts was playing croquet. "Have you ever played croquet?" asked the Queen of Hearts. "Yes," Alice answered, "but I've never used a flamingo or a hedgehog to do so." "You will play with me and let me win or I'll chop off your head," ordered the Queen of Hearts. Alice wasn't very good at croquet. "Off with her head," cried the Queen of Hearts. Just then, Alice felt someone touch her shoulder. "Wake up! You've been sleeping," said Alice's sister. I had a strange dream, said Alice. Alice told her sister all about her adventure. Before long, Alice realized that she hadn't eaten for hours and she ran inside for something to eat. Thank you for watching the video. Please subscribe the channel.
Kindle Kid presents The Runaway Iceberg. Land ahoy, shouted Rossi, looking out to sea with her telescope. Shall we dive in and explore, Captain? You know I don't like swimming, Gasper said with a sigh. Suddenly, a cracking sound came from below them. Before they had realized what was happening, a chunk of ice had broken off and Gasper and Rossi were floating out to sea on an iceberg. Quick, swim, shouted Rossi. But Gasper was afraid. I can't, he cried, peering into the deep, dark sea below. The iceberg floated out farther and farther until they could no longer see land. What are we going to do? Asked Gasper, trembling. How will we ever get back? We're brave explorers, remember, said Rossi, holding Gasper's flippers. We will find a way. Gasper took a deep breath. I guess we could use our flippers to row back, he said. But which way is home? Lift me up, said Rossi. She climbed onto Gasper's head. But she was still not high enough to see land. Try jumping, she suggested, giving him a little nudge with her foot. Gasper jumped, and they both landed on the ice with a thud. Need some help finding your way? Asked Asno. Petrol from above. Oh, yes, please, called Gasper. Which way is land? It's this way, called the snow petrel, flying high above them. Gasper and Rossi used their flippers to row as hard as they could, but the current kept pushing them the wrong way. Need us to give you a push? Asked an Antarctic silverfish from below. Oh, yes, please, called Gasper. The silverfish pushed the iceberg along. Until suddenly, it became stuck. We'll never get through here, exclaimed Gasper. Need some help breaking through the ice? Asked a blue whale from the deep. With a huge flip of its tail, the whale smashed the ice and cleared the way. Gasper and Rossi bobbed along behind it, glad to finally be on their way back to safety. Land ahoy, squawked the snow petrel. It's all been a great adventure, said Rossi, grinning. We're just like real explorers. The sun shone brightly in the sky as Gasper and Rossi headed for home. Hey, stick to your side, Captain, laughed Rossi, as Gasper's tail feathers tickled her feet. The two penguins turned to face each other in shock. The iceberg was getting smaller and smaller. "It's melting," shrieked Gasper. "We need to move faster." "I'm right on the edge," grumbled Gasper. The silverfish swam quicker, and the blue whale helped to push. But the ice was melting too fast. "We'll have to swim from here," said Rossi. "You can do this, Gasper." "I know you can. You are the captain, after all." The silverfish started to cheer. "Gasper, Gasper, Gasper." Soon, everyone had joined in, and Gasper began to feel braver. Gasper gulped. Then, with one big jump, he splashed into the water. "Beerah," he spluttered. "It's so chilly." "Use your flippers," shouted Rossi as she dived in over Gasper's head. "We," said Rossi, as she headed for home. Gasper flapped his flippers and followed nervously behind. It wasn't long before Rossi and Gasper were back, home with their families. "You did it, Captain," said Rossi. "You got us through our most dangerous adventure yet." "I guess I did," agreed Gasper, feeling proud. "But I couldn't have done it without my trusty first mate." Thank you for watching the video.
Kindle Kid presents A Heap of Sheep. Illustrated by Twinkle and animated by Kindle Kid. High up on a hillside that is known as Sunny Sneap sits a cozy little town that's home to lots of busy sheep. Pearl is clearing leaves outside her cafe, Shepherd's Keep. But a puddle starts to form across the path she needs to sweep.
Whoops!
She takes a tumble all the way down Sunny Sneap. Then she lands in quite a jumble on a grouchy grazing sheep. Meanwhile, up the hill, the little lambs are fast asleep. Papa's trying not to wake them, so he gently starts to creep. Whoops! He takes a tumble all the way down Sunny Sneap. Then he lands in quite a jumble on the other tangled sheep. Meanwhile, up the hill, Alonzo runs to take a peep at a brightly colored bird that gives a loud and cheerful cheep. Whoops! He takes a tumble all the way down Sunny Sneap. Then he lands in quite a jumble, which creates a heap of sheep. Meanwhile, up the hill, Tallulah runs and takes a leap. But the other dancers wobble on the hill that's very steep. Whoops! They take a tumble all the way down Sunny Sneap. Then they land in quite a jumble till the heap is 10 sheep deep. Meanwhile, in the watch hut, Florence hears the siren bleep, which is telling her she needs to go and help a heap of sheep. Florence scoops the sheep and drives them straight up Sunny Sneap. now they're safely back at home instead of tangled in a heap. Florence waves goodbye and gives her friends a little beep. Then she heads back down to rescue yet another heap of sheep. Thank you for watching the video.